So with the GL surf paddle here, it was kind of a fun project that Dave and I, it just kind of spontaneously came about. I was asking for a paddle specifically to use when stand-up paddling in the surf, which, you know, is removed from stand-up paddling in a race scenario. So this paddle had some specific design features, and it was different for me because, you know, as a surfboard shaper, generally I'm sitting in the design seat listening to the surfer tell me what he wants. But in this case, Dave and I switched places, and I'm trying to tell him as accurately as I can what I need in this paddle. You know, we had some fun times when we actually had a block of foam and we shaped it together using, you know, my surfboard shaping tools and his hands to hold it in place. I really think that we nailed it, because the first time I went out and used the paddle, it really worked, and it did everything that I hoped it would do. Some of the design features of this blade here, well, back the original stand-up paddle blades were really sharp, and sometimes they cut right into the edge of the board. So what we did here was try to round the edges to protect the board. But we also had to add a carbon fiber strip in here to protect the paddle. This paddle enters and exits the water, you know, on the catch and the release really well. The surface area of this blade is 90 square inches. So again, you know, the dimensions of the blade were kind of a function of trying out a bunch of different shapes, but it ended up to be 7 9/16 wide and 17 inches long. The blade angle was kind of critical too, so we tried a bunch of different ones, and we ended up thinking that this angle of 10 degrees really seemed to work the best for us. Being 100% carbon fiber, it is very strong, but it's also very, very light. So for the grip, we actually have three choices here. We have the Ergo T, or we have the palm grip, and we also have a 6-inch adjustable for the guys that, you know, like to adjust their length out in the surf as they get tired, and then that way it allows them to use different muscle groups and they can stay out longer and catch more waves. Well, the purpose of the paddle, after I've already caught the wave, you know, which is really super important, but it's also used for leverage, for balance, and a lot of times, you know, because a stand-up board is generally so much bigger, has more volume, wider, a little bit more difficult to bank onto a rail, that you need the paddle to be able to lean on it and get your weight further over to bank that big board up. So one of the design features of this paddle was, you know, whether you're going front side or back side, top or bottom of the paddle, it can skim across the surface of the water and still, you know, offer that leverage that you need to really get the most out of not only your board, but you know, out of the wave. You know, that's always a big question, is whether the paddle is made for an expert ability person or one that's just starting out. And I think with good equipment, especially a good paddle, one that's well designed, you know, even though this one is specifically targeted for going out in the surf, I don't think it matters whether you're a beginner or, you know, you've been doing it since the beginning of stand-up paddling. Even as a beginner, a good paddle is going to bring your game up And, you know, maybe at first you might feel that, whoa, I'm not up to what this paddle can do, but this paddle will teach you and bring, you know, raise your level of expertise and just, you know, your skills out in the surf, because it works good.